You look around business today, and it's everywhere, isn't it? This focus on the numbers, metrics, optimizing everything. You see that picture, executives glued to dashboards, always drilling down. It's kind of the standard image.
Oh, absolutely. And, the sources you sent over, they really zero in on that. They point out how, yeah, we've gotten incredibly good at this whole efficiency thing over the last few decades. We've definitely gained a lot. But their main point, the real crux, is that this super intense focus, it's kind of led us into what they're calling the optimization trap.
The optimization trap.
Yeah.
Okay, what exactly do they mean by trap?
Well, the idea is that this narrow focus, purely on the stuff you can count, the outputs, the efficiency bumps, cutting costs, should become so dominant. And in the process, we started, well, neglecting something really vital, the human side. Things like, trust, actual creativity, empathy, people finding meaning in their work, all that stuff.
So it's kind of like we started off saying, let's measure what we treasure, but somehow it flipped. Now we just treasure whatever we can measure.
Yeah.
And anything that doesn't fit on a spreadsheet just gets, well, ignored.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it, yeah. And the sources argue pretty convincingly that this isn't trivial. It has real consequences. They look at companies that have thrived, like really thrived over decades. And these places, they weren't just efficiency machines. They somehow, maybe intuitively, got the balance right. The systems, the processes, they give you the structure you need. Sure. But it's the human stuff, the emotional intelligence, having some moral courage, real communication, genuinely caring about stakeholders that gives an organization its soul, its energy. And that's what fuels the lasting innovation, the resilience, that kind of win-win-win-win outcome they talk about. Good for the company, good for people, communities, even the planet.
Yeah, it makes me think of that analogy they used, the musician versus the master performer. Like a skilled musician hits all the right notes, technically perfect. But the master, they understand the space between the notes, the feeling, that connection with the audience.
Precisely. And leadership, stuck only in optimization, that's just hitting the technical notes. Masterful leadership, though, it's about creating that space, the conditions where people feel value, they feel inspired, connected, where, the whole symphony of human potential can actually play out. That's the melody we've kind of been optimizing away.
Okay, but here's where, for me at least, it gets really interesting. Because you'd think AI, right? More data, smarter algorithms. Surely that just pushes us deeper into the optimization trap.
You'd think so. And that's the really surprising twist in these sources. They're arguing that this AI revolution, it's not just tech, it's acting like a mirror, actually, and a catalyst. By taking over a lot of the routine thinking tasks, the cognitive stuff we used to do, AI is kind of forcing us to ask some pretty big questions. Questions about what it really means to be human and humane at work.
Like what kind of questions?
Well, things like, okay, if AI can crunch the numbers and do the routine analysis, what are the uniquely human things we really need to double down on? How do we create value that's about more than just being faster or cheaper? And, what does authentic leadership even look like when AI is part of the everyday picture? It's pushing us, really, to redefine our own value.
Which leads us right into this idea the sources really highlight. Hybrid intelligence, HI.
Yes, hybrid intelligence. And they're careful to frame it not as, humans versus machines, that old story. It's about collaboration, thoughtful collaboration. It's about combining the best bits of AI and the best bits of humans to get results that aren't just efficient, but are also, sustainable, creative, trustworthy. It's about complementarity, really.
So wait, instead of AI making humans less valuable, its growing power actually makes focusing on unique human skills more important.
That's the core idea, exactly. Look, AI is brilliant at spotting patterns in massive data sets, at complex optimization, at being consistent, systematically thorough. Amazing strengths, but humans, we bring different things. Contextual understanding, ethical judgment, creative thinking, navigating fuzzy situations with wisdom, maybe compassion, reading between the lines, making those intuitive jumps, AI just can't manage.
So it sounds like AI brings the scale, the breadth, the processing power.
Yeah.
But humans bring the depth, the intuition, the meaning-making.
Couldn't have said it better. It's like another analogy they use, learning to dance with a partner who has a totally different rhythm, different strengths. The real magic, beautiful stuff happens when both dancers contribute their unique gifts in sync. And that's why they argue the key question really shifts. It's not how can AI do this job anymore? It's becoming how can AI help humans do this job better? Or maybe even how can AI support humans to be better?
That's Yeah, that's a significant shift. It implies we need to actively design systems, workflows, not just to automate things away,
Hmm.
but to actually make work more interesting for people, more meaningful, to create space for human creativity and judgment.
Exactly. And that whole goal, that intention, is captured in what the sources call pro-social AI.
Pro-social AI, tell me more about that.
Yeah, so pro-social AI refers to systems that are like intentionally designed, trained, tested, and aimed specifically at bringing out the best in people, in organizations, and ultimately serving society, the planet. It's thinking about AI in terms of amplifying human potential, collective flourishing, not just automating tasks.
That sounds amazing, honestly.
Yeah.
But it doesn't just happen automatically, does it? AI doesn't just become pro-social.
No, not at all. And the sources are super clear on this point. Whether you get those positive outcomes, it depends entirely on the human values you bake into the design, into the deployment. Like they say, it's values in, values out. You can't just hope for the best or fall into that old garbage in, garbage out problem. It absolutely requires intentional humanistic leadership to steer AI development towards those pro-social goals.
And they actually mention evidence for this, don't they? That companies focusing on human flourishing alongside the usual metrics often do better, outperform those just chasing short-term gains.
They do. It literally pays in the long run to be more humanistic.
Yeah.
So, okay, the big question then becomes, how do you do that? How do organizations, leaders actually cultivate this hybrid intelligence?
Yeah.
How do you make the shift? And the sources offer a pretty practical framework for this. They call it the A-frame approach.
The A-frame, right? 4 elements. Where does it start?
It starts, the absolute foundation, according to the sources, is awareness, which means really getting a deep understanding of what both human intelligence, our natural intelligence, and artificial intelligence, AI, can do. And crucially, what they can't do, their limits. And central to this awareness piece is developing what they call double literacy.
Double literacy. Okay, that sounds fundamental.
It really is. It's like two sides of the same coin. You need both. First, there's human literacy. This is about understanding ourselves, others, social dynamics, emotional intelligence, values, relationships, how we make meaning. Basically, understanding people. Leaders who get this create psychological safety, they build trust, they inspire people with purpose.
Okay, makes sense. That's one half. What's the other?
The other half is algorithmic literacy. Now, this doesn't mean you need to become a coder or an AI researcher, but it does mean having a basic grasp of what AI actually is, how it works at a fundamental level, where its current blind spots and potential biases are, and really importantly, knowing where human judgment, human wisdom, human oversight is still absolutely critical. It's about understanding enough to ask good questions, make smart choices about using AI, and make sure someone is accountable. These two literacies together, human and algorithmic, the sources say they're the bedrock, the foundation for everything else in hybrid intelligence.
Got it. So awareness built on that double literacy is the starting block. What's the next part of the A-frame then?
The second A is appreciation. This is about consciously recognizing and actually valuing the different unique things that both humans and AI bring. Getting past seeing AI as just, the savior or the villain, and instead genuinely appreciating how they can complement each other.
Okay, awareness, appreciation. What follows?
Next comes acceptance, which is about, accepting the reality of where things are right now, acknowledging the current limits of both human intelligence and AI without freaking out, technophobia, or thinking AI will magically solve everything tomorrow, techno-utopianism. Neither humans nor AI are perfect, right? So integrating them effectively takes ongoing work, learning, realistic expectations.
Right, and that leads to the final A.
Accountability, which is pretty straightforward but crucial. It's about taking ownership, taking responsibility for the results, the outcomes that come from humans and AI working together, making sure AI is used ethically, for good reasons, and in ways that actually help people flourish. So that means setting up clear rules, governance, feedback systems, guidelines, making sure AI serves those pro-social aims we talked about.
So the A-frame, awareness grounded in that double literacy then, appreciation, acceptance, and finally accountability. It's like a roadmap for navigating this whole new world and building HI.
It is, yeah. It provides a structure.
Yeah.
And the sources don't just stop in the theory, which is good. They give some pretty concrete, practical things that companies and leaders can actually start doing, like right now.
Things like maybe auditing your AI use, but not just for efficiency, asking different questions.
Exactly. Asking, is this AI actually enhancing what our people can do? Is it helping us achieve more meaningful goals, not just faster ones?
Or maybe redesigning jobs and workflows. So you use AI for the heavy lifting analysis, but you deliberately protect and even expand the parts where humans shine creativity, relationships, complex judgment.
Yes, and bringing different voices to the table, too, setting up teams that aren't just tech people. You need people from the humanities, psychologists, ethicists, people who understand the human side of the equation. Cross-functional is key.
And ultimately, the sources seem to say it really comes down to leadership, doesn't it? Leaders have to embody this integration.
They really do.
Hmm.
Leaders who can, read the spreadsheet and read the room, who get the market dynamics and the human psychology. They need to model that blend of analytical thinking and humanistic wisdom themselves.
Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive, we started with that familiar picture, the optimization trap, maybe losing sight of the human element because we're so focused on measuring. But the really surprising insight from these sources is that AI, maybe counterintuitively, isn't the final nail in the coffin for humanism at work. It could actually be the wake-up call, the catalyst that makes us remember what we should have been prioritizing all along, which is, human potential, human flourishing.
It really feels like an invitation, doesn't it? A chance to
Well,
step back from just optimizing everything narrowly and ask, wait, what are we optimizing for?
yeah. It's a challenge to use AI's power not to replace us, but to partner with us. To amplify the best parts of being human, our judgment, our creativity, our connection. So the choice isn't really humans or AI. It feels more like, do we stick with this narrow optimization path, which might even be harmful long term? Or do we aim for something richer, more sustainable? Holistic flourishing. By intentionally building hybrid intelligence, using that A-frame, grounding it all in double literacy.
Yeah, and that closing image from the sources is quite powerful, that the missing melody, human potential, hasn't vanished. It's just waiting for us to figure out how to conduct the orchestra again. And now we have AI as this incredibly powerful accompanist, not the soloist, but the accompanist. We have this amazing new opportunity.
Which really leaves you, the listener, with a final thought to take away from these sources, something to chew on. How can you, right where you are in your own work, your own life, start conducting that humanistic symphony? With AI as your partner, how can you focus on amplifying what makes us most uniquely and hopefully wonderfully human?
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the sources you provided.